The city never really sleeps, but on a rainy March evening in Manhattan, it almost fooled you. Traffic hissed along slick streets, neon lights blurred in the puddles, and from the 12th floor of a small Upper West Side apartment, Evelyn Carter sat staring at her phone like it was a weapon pointed straight at her heart. She'd raised her only son, Nathan, in this same city, scraped through double shifts at the diner, worked holidays, turned every paycheck into rent and school shoes. Nathan was her pride, her reason, her proof that all the sacrifices meant something. And now at 30, he was getting married. Evelyn should have been buzzing with excitement. Instead, she was frozen, because everyone in her building already knew about the wedding. But she had never received an invitation. Her best friend and neighbor, Dolores, called it a glitch. "Maybe it's lost in the mail," she'd said, handing Evelyn a cup of chamomile tea. But the Carter mailbox was never unreliable, and Evelyn knew it. Nathan's fiancée, Madison, wealthy, sharp, all Hampton smiles and cold eyes, had always looked at her like an unwelcome guest at her own life. Madison's parents ran an art gallery in Tribeca. They drove a Tesla. They had plans for Nathan that didn't include the waitress mother with calloused hands. The phone finally buzzed. A text from Nathan. Evelyn's breath caught. "Hey, Mom, I need to talk to you about the wedding. Can we meet tomorrow?" She read it 3 times. No heart emoji. No excitement. Just a heavy, clinical line that sounded like a meeting request. When they met at the small cafe near Central Park, Nathan hugged her, but it felt brief, like a handshake pretending to be a hug. His once messy brown hair was slicked back, and his tailored coat looked brand new. Evelyn noticed Madison sitting across the street in a black SUV, pretending to scroll her phone. "Mom," Nathan began, eyes darting to the window. "The wedding is going to be intimate. Madison's family wants something private. Small guest list." Evelyn set her coffee down. "Private? Honey, I'm your mother. I know, but..." He exhaled, voice dropping. "It's complicated. Madison thinks, her parents think, it might be better if you skip the ceremony. We can celebrate after, just us." The words sliced through her. She heard the clink of mugs behind the counter, the hiss of steaming milk, the city heartbeat outside. But all of it faded under the roar in her ears. "You're telling me," she said slowly, "that I'm not invited to my own son's wedding?" Nathan winced. "It's just one day, Mom. Don't make it a thing. Don't make it a thing." 30 years of scraped knees, science projects, nights when she skipped dinner so he could eat, now reduced to don't make it a thing. She left before the tears came. Nathan didn't follow. That night, Evelyn wandered through Times Square like a ghost, the lights too bright, the crowds too loud. She ended up on a quiet bench near Bryant Park, rain misting her hair. She thought of all the bedtime stories she'd told Nathan about courage, about standing up for yourself. Funny how life never warned you that sometimes you'd need to stand up to your own child. By the time she got back to her apartment, a different kind of resolve had settled in. Painful, yes, but clean. If Madison's family wanted her gone, if her own son was willing to erase her, fine. But she would not fade quietly. Not Evelyn Carter. Revenge wasn't a word she'd used before. It felt sharp, dangerous. But as midnight rolled over the city and a siren wailed somewhere downtown, she whispered it out loud, just to taste it. Revenge. The word felt steady. She began with research. Madison's parents, Victor and Claudia Price, had a trail of glossy interviews online, charity galas, exclusive art shows, property deals. And beneath the perfection, Evelyn spotted cracks. Lawsuits over shady art imports, whispers of stolen provenance. Nothing public enough to ruin them, not yet. But Evelyn had friends, old customers from the diner who worked in odd places, shipping yards, customs offices, even the NYPD. She sent a few late-night messages. Just questions, she told herself. Curiosity. Her phone buzzed back almost immediately from Frankie, a retired cop who'd eaten her blueberry pie every Sunday for years. "You sure you want to dig into these people, Ev?" "Prices don't play nice," Evelyn typed back. "I'm done playing nice." Outside her window, the Hudson River gleamed under the city lights, dark and endless. Somewhere across town, her son was probably laughing with Madison, planning a wedding that would erase his own mother. Evelyn didn't cry anymore. She simply stared at the water and began to imagine the pieces of a plan that would remind everyone, especially Nathan, exactly who she was. The rain stopped. The city kept moving. And Evelyn Carter, waitress, single mother, discarded parent, quietly decided the wedding of the year was about to become the scandal of the year. The morning after her midnight vow, Evelyn woke before the city's first garbage truck groaned down West End Avenue. She'd barely slept, but her mind felt razor sharp. The plan wasn't clear yet, only a tangle of instincts. Protect her dignity, expose the prices, make Nathan see the truth. She brewed coffee so strong it could melt a spoon and opened her laptop. Old habit made her check the diner schedule first, still on the books for the Saturday double, but she closed the tab. Today wasn't about waiting tables. Today was about Madison Price. The prices were pure Manhattan money. Evelyn scrolled through glossy society pages. Victor Price in a midnight blue tux at the Met Gala. Claudia Price leaning into a senator's wife at a charity brunch. There was a curated, airbrushed perfection to every shot. But Evelyn had learned long ago that perfect pictures hide the ugliest corners. She remembered Frankie's warning. Prices don't play nice. Good. Neither did she. Her phone buzzed. Dolores, you up already? Her neighbor rasped when Evelyn answered. Girl, it's 6 a.m. I need a favor, Evelyn said. Remember your cousin at Customs? Derek. Yeah, why? I need to know if the Prices have ever imported art that looked off. Anything unregistered, missing paperwork? Dolores paused. Ev, that's serious digging. You sure? I'm done being sure, Evelyn replied. I just need facts. Fine, give me a few days. But if this blows back, you didn't hear it from me. When the call ended, Evelyn felt the city around her stir awake. Buses sighing, horns snapping. She slipped into jeans, pulled on a leather jacket Nathan had given her years ago, and headed out. The diner sat on a corner near 96th Street, the same one where she'd poured coffee for half her life. She wasn't there for a shift, only for information. The regulars were morning detectives. They knew everything about everyone. Frankie, the retired cop, was already in his booth, reading the Post. You look like you're about to interrogate somebody, he said as she slid in. I need more than rumors, Evelyn said, lowering her voice. Anything solid on Victor or Claudia Price. Taxes, smuggling, whatever you got. Frankie arched a brow. Planning to blackmail high society, huh? Planning to protect my family, she corrected. He studied her a moment, then leaned closer. Word is Victor's gallery moves pieces fast, too fast. Some collectors think he's pushing items with sketchy provenance. But nobody's proved it. What would prove it? Shipping manifests, photos, something that shows he knew a piece was stolen or forged. That's felony territory. Evelyn nodded, a quiet thrill tightening her chest. She'd never broken a law in her life, but the thought of exposing Madison's perfect family lit a fuse inside her. That afternoon, she rode the subway downtown to Tribeca and walked past the Price Gallery. Glass walls, marble floors, the air itself seemed expensive. Inside, Victor Price was hosting a private preview for a handful of buyers, his voice smooth as silk. Evelyn watched through the window long enough to memorize his gestures, the lazy way he held a champagne flute. On the sidewalk, she noticed a young man smoking, wearing a gallery badge. She approached with a smile. Long shift? She asked. Always, he said, exhaling smoke. I've been thinking of working in art, she lied. Is it as glamorous as it looks? He snorted. Only if you like unpaid overtime and pretending every painting isn't stolen. Evelyn's ears sharpened. Stolen? He shrugged. Rumors? Prices move pieces fast. I just hang them up. She left him with a warm thank you and a mental note. Find his name later. That night, back in her apartment, Evelyn called Nathan. He answered on the second ring. Hey, Mom, he said, cautious. Hey, kid, she replied. I was thinking maybe we could grab dinner this week. Just you and me, he hesitated. Madison and I are busy with final arrangements. Maybe after the honeymoon? The casual dismissal sliced deeper than she expected. Sure, she said softly. After the honeymoon. When the call ended, she sat in the dark, anger humming under her skin. Nathan had been the boy who once cried when he couldn't find her in a grocery store aisle. Now he couldn't spare an hour. Madison hadn't just taken her place at the wedding, she'd taken her son. Near midnight, her phone pinged. A text from Dolores. Derek checked manifests. 2 shipments last month from Italy under a shell company tied to the gallery. Paperwork's thin. Could be hot. Evelyn stared at the screen, pulse quickening. She didn't fully know what hot meant in art world jargon, but she knew it wasn't good. The next day, she visited Derek at his office near JFK. The customs officer, a big man with tired eyes, greeted her with a wary smile. "Your friend's cousin," he said. "You really want to see this?" Yes, he slid a folder across the desk. Inside were shipping documents, photos of crates stamped with codes, and a single line that made her breath catch. Caravaggio, unsigned, provenance disputed. "That's a multi-million-dollar piece," Derek said. "If it's stolen and they're selling it." Federal crime, Evelyn traced the photo with her finger. Madison's family, so careful about appearances, sitting on a powder keg of art fraud. "What happens if this gets out?" she asked. "Prices lose everything," Derek said. "Gallery shut down. Maybe prison." Evelyn closed the folder, heart pounding. By the time she left JFK, the sky over Queens was streaked with crimson dusk. The wedding was 3 weeks away. Madison's parents wanted her invisible. Instead, she now held a weapon powerful enough to shatter their empire. On the subway ride back, she thought about Nathan, how he'd look when he learned the truth. Would he hate her for it? Or would he finally see the woman who had built his life with her bare hands? She didn't know yet. But she knew one thing. The Prices had underestimated a mother's love. And a mother's fury. The city lights flickered past the train window, each reflection a silent promise. Evelyn Carter wasn't just going to attend her son's wedding. She was going to rewrite the entire event, 3 weeks to the wedding. That's all the time Evelyn had to turn a stack of shipping documents into a weapon sharp enough to cut through Manhattan high society. She spent the next morning at her kitchen table, coffee gone cold, the folder from Derek spread open like a crime scene. Photos of wooden crates stamped with obscure codes. Manifests signed by shell companies. A Caravaggio with provenance disputed. She didn't know much about Renaissance art, but she knew a felony when she saw one. The question wasn't if she could ruin Victor and Claudia Price. It was how and when to do it so Nathan couldn't look away. A knock jolted her. Dolores slipped inside with a grocery bag and the kind of grin that meant trouble. "Girl, you look like you're plotting a heist," Dolores said, setting the bag down. "You eat anything today?" Evelyn shook her head. "I might be planning something bigger than a heist." Dolores raised an eyebrow. "Bigger than a heist usually ends with orange jumpsuits." "I'm not stealing," Evelyn said. "I'm exposing thieves." Dolores leaned closer. "Then expose." "But you want Nathan to see it with his own eyes, right?" Evelyn's jaw tightened. "He has to. Or he'll think I'm just the bitter mom." Dolores tapped the folder. "Then bait the trap. Let the Prices invite their own ruin." That night, Evelyn sat at her laptop and created a brand new email account, artwatchernycprotonmail.com. No name, no trace. She drafted a message to the New York District Attorney's Art Crimes Unit. Tip: Victor Price Gallery may be selling a stolen Caravaggio. Shipment arrived last month from Italy under shell company Blue Harbor Imports. Check customs manifests. She stared at the words. Her finger hovered, then she clicked send. The city outside her window thrummed with energy. Sirens, laughter, a late-night saxophone drifting from a subway entrance. Evelyn felt it seep into her bones, the beginning of something irreversible. 2 days later, she walked past the Price Gallery again. This time she noticed a black SUV parked across the street, 2 men in suits inside. They weren't tourists. Her email had landed. Inside the gallery, Madison was arranging flowers for a charity auction, her diamond ring flashing under the lights. Evelyn stayed in the shadows, watching her future daughter-in-law bark orders at a junior assistant. There was a chill precision to Madison, like someone born believing the world belonged to her. Evelyn's phone vibrated, a text from Nathan. "Hey Mom, rehearsal dinner next week. Want to grab coffee after?" She almost laughed. After disinviting her, now he wanted coffee? She typed back, "Sure, just tell me when. A small victory." Maybe he felt her slipping away. The coffee shop near Union Square was crowded when they met. Nathan looked tired, tie loosened, eyes wary. "Mom," he said, hugging her briefly. "You look good." "You too," she said, studying him. "Wedding nerves?" "Something like that." He hesitated. "Listen, I know it hurt when we talked last time. I didn't mean—" "You meant it." She cut in gently. "It's okay. I know Madison's family calls the shots," Nathan winced. "It's not like that." It's exactly like that, Evelyn said, but her tone stayed soft. Just remember, families that hide things usually have the most to lose. He frowned. What does that mean? Evelyn reached across the table, squeezing his hand. It means I love you, and I'll always protect you, even when you don't understand how. Before he could respond, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She let it ring. That night, the unknown caller left a voicemail. A clipped male voice. Official. This is Detective Harris, NYPD Art Crimes. We received your tip. Please call us back. Evelyn replayed it twice, a strange calm settling over her. The wheels were moving. The next afternoon, she got another text. This time from Derek. Feds pulled manifests. Prices are spooked. Gallery under quiet watch. She smiled. A small, dangerous smile. The rehearsal dinner was held at a private rooftop in Soho, the kind of place where wine costs more than rent. Evelyn wasn't invited, of course, but she went anyway, just not inside. From a bench across the street, she watched as guests arrived in sleek black cars, laughter echoing against the night. Through the glass wall, she spotted Nathan, handsome in a charcoal suit, and Madison, radiant but tense. Victor and Claudia greeted guests like royalty. Then two plainclothes detectives approached the entrance. They flashed badges to the doorman and disappeared inside. Evelyn's pulse quickened. Minutes later, she saw Victor stiffen, his easy grin falter. A detective handed him a document, likely a warrant. Claudia's hand flew to her mouth. Guests whispered. Phones discreetly lifted to record. Madison glanced toward the street, eyes scanning the crowd outside. For one electric second, Evelyn thought their gazes met through the glass. Madison's expression sharpened. Suspicion, maybe recognition. Evelyn remained perfectly still. Inside, Victor followed the detectives toward a side door. Claudia trailed behind, frantic. The party atmosphere collapsed into hushed confusion. Nathan stepped into the hallway, looking bewildered. Madison grabbed his arm, whispering fiercely. Evelyn exhaled a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. She wasn't inside the party, but she had just stolen the night. Later, as she walked home under the city's neon glow, Evelyn's phone buzzed again. A message from a blocked number. Impressive. But this isn't over. No name, no clue. Just a reminder that the Prices weren't done fighting. Evelyn pocketed the phone and kept walking. Her revenge had only started to bloom. The wedding was still a week away. And now the Prices knew someone was coming for them. She almost felt sorry for them. Almost. The morning after the rehearsal dinner, Evelyn woke to the sound of her phone buzzing nonstop. News alerts. Social posts. The headline that jumped out first. Federal investigation clouds Price Gallery Gala. She clicked the link. The article was cautious. Unconfirmed sources. Possible irregularities in overseas art shipments. But the damage was clear. Victor and Claudia Price's perfect reputation now carried a public question mark. Evelyn poured coffee and let the steam rise over her smile. Step one had worked. Her next move, though, had to be personal. Nathan still didn't know the full truth. And Madison would be tightening her grip, spinning stories before Evelyn could reach her son. Her phone rang. Nathan. Mom, he said, voice tight. Did you see the news? I did, she answered evenly. You wouldn't? You didn't? Didn't what? He exhaled hard. Never mind. Madison's losing it. Her parents are furious. They should be, Evelyn said, then softened. Nathan, come by tonight. We need to talk. Just you and me, a pause. Then, okay, I'll be there. By evening, Evelyn had set the small apartment table with 2 plates of lasagna, his childhood favorite. When Nathan arrived, the smell hit him first. You made this? He asked, dropping his coat. Some things don't change, she said. They ate mostly in silence. The city outside hummed, a low, steady rhythm. Finally, Nathan said, Madison thinks someone tipped off the feds. She thinks it might be you. Evelyn looked him straight in the eye. Why would she think that? Because you hate them. I don't hate them, she said. I hate what they've done to you. He set down his fork. What's that supposed to mean? It means, she said quietly, they're criminals, Nathan. They built everything on lies. Nathan shook his head. You can't just accuse people I'm not accusing. I'm telling you what I know. Their gallery is moving stolen art. Federal stolen. That Caravaggio? It doesn't belong to them. His face went pale. How could you even know that? Because I protect my family, she said. Even when you don't want me to. Nathan pushed back from the table. This is insane. Madison, she says you're jealous. That you're trying to ruin the wedding, Evelyn stood. Look at me. Do I look jealous? Or do I look like the woman who raised you when no one else would? Who worked 2 jobs so you could have every chance? He hesitated, conflict written across his face. I love you, she said, voice soft but steady. But I won't let you marry into a family built on theft. You deserve better than lies. Nathan rubbed his temples. If what you're saying is true, then Madison might have known. She knows, Evelyn said. Believe me. He stared at her for a long moment, then left without another word. That night, Evelyn barely slept. Had she pushed too hard? Or planted just enough doubt? By dawn, she had her answer, a text from Nathan. Need to think. Don't call. Wedding still on for Saturday, 2 days. Saturday morning arrived crisp and bright, the kind of spring day when New York feels like it's been washed clean. Evelyn dressed in a simple navy dress, nothing flashy but sharp enough to be noticed. Invitation or not, she was going. At the cathedral entrance, a guard checked a list. Evelyn walked straight past. Ma'am, he began. She turned, smile polite, but eyes unyielding. Mother of the groom. Something in her voice made him step aside. Inside, the pews shimmered with designer fabrics and discreet perfume. A string quartet played softly. Guests whispered about the federal investigation, the price name suddenly tainted. Cameras hovered near the doors, hungry. Evelyn slipped into a back pew and waited. When the ceremony began, Madison appeared radiant in silk, her face a perfect mask. Nathan followed, handsome but tight-lipped. Evelyn watched every flicker of expression, searching for any sign he'd heard her. Then, commotion at the entrance. 2 men in dark suits strode down the aisle. Not wedding guests, a murmur swept through the crowd. The quartet faltered. Victor and Claudia Price? One agent called, voice carrying, gasps, heads turned. Claudia clutched Victor's arm. The agents approached, badges flashing. You're under federal investigation for possession of stolen art, the lead agent announced. We have a warrant, the cathedral erupted. Guests whispered, phones raised. Reporters outside surged forward. Victor tried to speak, but the agent's voice cut through. Please step outside. Madison froze, veil trembling. Nathan turned, stunned, to his parents-in-law. Evelyn remained perfectly still, heart pounding with a terrible, quiet satisfaction. Victor and Claudia were escorted out as the priest attempted a shaky prayer for calm. Madison followed in a swirl of silk, rage, and panic, twisting her elegant face. Nathan looked into the pews and saw his mother. Their eyes locked. His expression shifted from shock to something deeper, understanding. The ceremony disintegrated. Guests spilled into the street, reporters shouting questions. The Prices were placed in a waiting black sedan, agents on either side. Evelyn stepped outside, blending with the crowd. Nathan found her near the steps. Mom, he said, voice rough. You knew this would happen. She didn't answer. You did this. She met his gaze. I warned you. He looked back at the chaos, sirens, flashing lights, then at her again. Madison's gone. She left with them. She'll have plenty to explain, Evelyn said. Nathan ran a hand through his hair. Everything's ruined. No, she said softly. Everything's revealed. He stared at her for a long, trembling moment. Finally, a small, pained laugh escaped him. You're unbelievable. I'm your mother, she replied. A reporter's microphone pushed toward them, but Nathan waved it away. He and Evelyn turned and walked down the steps together, side by side into the bright New York afternoon. Later, as they sat on a quiet bench near the Hudson, Nathan finally spoke. I don't know if I can forgive you, he said. You don't have to. Not yet, but I get why you did it. Evelyn reached for his hand. That's enough. The river shimmered in the spring light, steady and endless. Somewhere behind them, the Prices' empire crumbled. Evelyn Carter sat with her son, the city humming around them, and felt, for the first time in years, completely whole. 2 days after the wedding that wasn't, New York City smelled of rain and headlines. Every newsstand screamed the same story. Price family scandal rocks, Tribeca art world, stolen masterpiece seized in federal raid Evelyn. Carter walked past the papers with her chin high. She hadn't expected fame, but she wasn't surprised either. Victor and Claudia Price were the kind of people who believed rules were for other people, until someone reminded them that even Manhattan royalty can fall. Her phone buzzed with texts she ignored. Reporters, curious acquaintances, even distant relatives she hadn't heard from in years. Only one message mattered. "Mom, can we talk? Dinner tonight? Nathan." She typed a simple reply. Always. They met at a quiet Italian place on McDougal Street, the same one Nathan used to beg for when he was a teenager. He looked older than his 30 years tonight, eyes shadowed, suit a little wrinkled. "You ordered wine?" he said, sliding into the booth. "That's new." "I figured we earned it," Evelyn replied. They clinked glasses, the candlelight flickering between them. "I spoke to Madison," Nathan said finally. Evelyn's heartbeat ticked faster. And she's devastated, furious, but mostly scared. The feds questioned her for hours. She swears she didn't know about her parents' deals. Do you believe her? "I don't know," he admitted. "Part of me wants to. But when I think about all the little things, private calls, sudden trips, it's hard not to wonder." Evelyn reached across the table, squeezing his hand. "It's okay to wonder," he exhaled, shoulders dropping. "I called off the wedding. Officially." "I'm sorry it came to that," she said gently. "I'm not sure I am," Nathan answered, surprising them both. "I loved her. Or I thought I did. But maybe I love the idea of a perfect life more." Evelyn studied her son, pride and ache mingling. Perfect lives don't exist. Just honest ones. While they ate, the city pulsed outside, sirens, laughter, the subway's distant rumble. It felt almost normal, but Evelyn knew the prices were far from done. People with that kind of money rarely disappear quietly. Sure enough, the next morning her phone rang with an unfamiliar number. "Mrs. Carter?" a crisp female voice asked. "Yes. This is Special Agent Harris, FBI Art Crimes. We'd like you to come in for a statement." Evelyn kept her voice steady. "Am I under investigation?" "No, ma'am. But you seem to have information that helped this case. We need to know how you knew." A meeting was set for the next day. The federal building downtown was all glass and steel, humming with quiet authority. Evelyn wore her best blazer, the one she'd bought years ago for Nathan's college graduation. Agent Harris, a tall woman with sharp eyes, led her to a small interview room. "You can relax," Harris said, offering coffee. "You're not in trouble. But we have questions." "I sent an anonymous tip," Evelyn admitted. "That's all." "How did you know about the shipment?" "A friend at customs," Evelyn said. "And common sense. The Prices flaunt their wealth. Sometimes the loudest people are hiding the biggest secrets." Harris gave a faint smile. "You're not wrong. For what it's worth, that tip helped us catch them red-handed." Evelyn inclined her head. "I wasn't trying to be a hero. I was protecting my family." Harris studied her for a long moment. "Well, you succeeded." When Evelyn left the building, the spring sun felt warmer than she expected. But Manhattan wasn't done testing her. That evening, as she walked home along the Hudson, a black car slowed beside her. The window rolled down. Inside sat Claudia Price, immaculate as ever, but with eyes like ice. "Get in," Claudia said. Evelyn kept walking. "Not a chance." Claudia pulled the car to the curb and stepped out, heels clicking on the pavement. "You think you've won?" Evelyn turned, meeting her gaze. "I think the truth won." Claudia's smile was razor thin. "You ruined a family." "My family." "You ruined yourselves," Evelyn said evenly. "I just turned on the light." Claudia stepped closer. "Nathan could have had everything. Instead, he has you." "Exactly," Evelyn replied. "He has me, and he's better for it." For a moment, they stood like statues, the river wind whipping between them. "You'll regret this," Claudia whispered. Evelyn almost laughed. "I don't regret protecting my son. You'd understand if you were a real mother." Claudia's face hardened. Without another word, she slipped back into the car and disappeared into the traffic. Evelyn watched the taillights fade. Fear prickled, but deeper than fear was something steadier. Resolve. Claudia Price could threaten all she liked. Evelyn had faced harder battles. That night, Nathan called again. "Madison's parents are out on bail," he said. "She's leaving the country for a while. I don't know if I'll see her again." "I'm sorry," Evelyn said, and meant it. I'm not, Nathan replied quietly. I feel free, he hesitated. Mom, thank you for everything. Even when I was blind. Evelyn swallowed the sudden lump in her throat. That's what mothers do. They stayed on the phone for a long time, not needing many words. The city hummed around them like a giant heartbeat. Weeks later, the Price Gallery remained shuttered, its marble facade now a symbol of scandal. Reporters camped outside. Tourists snapped photos of the crime scene. Victor and Claudia faced federal charges. Their fortune bled away in legal fees. Evelyn went back to her diner shifts, apron tied tight, smile easy. Regulars greeted her like an old friend, some whispering congratulations as if she'd won a secret war. Maybe she had. But she didn't feel like a victor. She felt steady, whole. One quiet evening, Nathan slid into a booth after her shift, carrying 2 cups of coffee. Thought I'd keep you company, he said. Evelyn smiled, exhaustion melting into warmth. Best company there is. They sat together as the city lights flickered outside. No perfect life, no fairy tale wedding. Just a mother and her son, safe in the truth. And for Evelyn Carter, that was victory enough. Summer settled over New York like a warm breath, carrying the smell of street food and subway heat. By now, the Price scandal had faded from the front pages, replaced by newer disasters, but the family name was still poison in the art world. Their gallery remained dark, its elegant windows papered over with foreclosure notices. Evelyn Carter passed it often on her way to the diner, not out of spite, but to remind herself how quickly the mighty can fall. Each time she walked by, she felt a strange mix of relief and sadness, relief that Nathan was free, sadness that a wedding day had been lost. But some losses, she knew, were blessings in disguise. Inside the diner, life returned to its ordinary rhythm. Frankie still nursed his Sunday pie. Dolores dropped by every evening with gossip and a loud laugh. Tourists asked for directions like the city was a puzzle only locals could solve. And Evelyn, apron tied, coffee pot in hand, felt lighter than she had in years. One Thursday afternoon, Nathan appeared at her counter. No suit this time, just jeans and a simple button-down. He looked rested, even hopeful. Got time for a late lunch? He asked. Always, she said, sliding him a menu he didn't need. As they shared a plate of fries, Nathan filled her in on his new job offer, an architecture firm in Brooklyn, smaller but more creative than the corporate giant he'd worked for. Feels like starting over, he said. In a good way. I'm proud of you, Evelyn said, and meant every syllable. He hesitated, then added, I've been thinking about everything. Madison, the wedding. What you did. Evelyn waited. At first I was angry. I thought you wanted to destroy everything I loved. He toyed with a fry, eyes down. But I get it now. You didn't destroy anything. You saved me from building a life on lies. Her chest tightened. Nathan, I'm not saying it was easy to watch, he continued. But you were right. Madison knew more than she admitted. The agents proved it. She was protecting her parents, not me. Evelyn reached across the counter, touching his hand. I wanted you to see the truth. That's all I ever wanted. I know. He gave a small smile. And I see you now, too. Not just as mom who worked herself half to death for me, but as someone strong enough to take on people like the Prices and win. She laughed softly, shaking her head. I didn't win. The truth did. Maybe, he said, but you delivered it. They sat in companionable silence for a moment, the clatter of dishes and the hiss of the coffee machine wrapping around them like an old song. Weeks turned into months. Nathan started his new job and moved into a loft in Brooklyn with tall windows and creaky floors. He called often, sometimes just to share the sunset over the East River or a new design sketch. Evelyn visited on weekends, bringing lasagna or pie, and always left feeling both proud and peaceful. One Saturday evening, as the city glowed gold with late summer light, Nathan invited her to the rooftop of his building. A soft breeze carried the scent of rain and river. I wanted to show you something, he said, leading her to a corner where an easel stood. On it rested a charcoal drawing, the skyline of New York, bold and alive, but in the foreground he'd sketched a simple diner with a woman behind the counter. It's us, Evelyn said, her voice catching. It's home, he replied. No matter where I go, this is what I carry. She blinked back tears, tracing the lines of the drawing. It's beautiful. Nathan slipped an arm around her shoulders. So are you. For a long moment, they watched the city together, the ferries slicing across the Hudson, the distant hum of traffic, the endless lights flickering like stars. Evelyn thought of everything that had brought them here, the loneliness, the betrayal, the quiet fury that had pushed her to fight, and she realized that revenge had never really been the goal. It was love, unyielding, unstoppable, that had driven her. Love had lit the match. Love had carried her through. She turned to Nathan, her voice barely above the city's hum. You know, life doesn't give out perfect endings. Just honest ones, Nathan nodded. This feels pretty perfect to me. They stood there until the sky shifted from gold to deep indigo, the city lights sparking like promises below. Later, when Evelyn walked home across the Brooklyn Bridge, the night air felt like freedom. The skyline stretched before her, alive and untamed. She thought of Claudia Price's final threat, "You'll regret this," and felt no regret at all. The Prices had their downfall. Evelyn had her son. Somewhere beneath the roar of traffic and the whisper of the river, she heard the quiet truth she had fought for. Revenge might have started the fire, but love was what remained. Evelyn Carter smiled into the dark. The city her witness, her accomplice, her home.